Mike, thanks for sitting down with me and
Yeah.
talking about the song You Are.
Yeah.
This is a song we've sang a lot.
Yeah.
Crosspoint. It's been a huge song for us. It's just connected us to God. Tell us a little bit about this tune. Who'd you write it with and where did it come
So
from?
there should be probably about 5 other chairs here with me. One of the things that I get to do, which I love, is also write with people from other churches, you know? And this song came about with a crew from Life Church based out of Oklahoma. And it was actually really personal for them. I mean, the pastor's daughter was going through some really scary health stuff.
Yeah.
And this song was kind of written for her, you know, and it became like a really strong anthem for them as a church.
Right.
And the thing that I love is that it's a song, though, that it kept coming up for both of us. You know, you and I would be like, yo, this song is good. Like, what's up with this song, you know? And I think as a songwriter, sometimes you think, well, I wrote that song for them or for that church.
Right.
And the cool thing is that it was like, wait a second, no. This, even though, you know, the story isn't specifically for Crosspoint, this song is for Crosspoint in the season we're in.
Yeah, so let's zoom out a little bit and just talk about, because you help lead and steward just the worship culture at Crosspoint.
Yeah.
But you're also connected with a lot of churches around the world. Talk a little bit about what do you see God doing just in worship and in church culture? Are you seeing any shifts, or just kind of talk about that for a minute?
I mean, one of the big shifts is you see a lot of churches writing songs for their church.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because, and it's kind of why, like, I encourage other churches, like, no, you need to write songs for your church.
Right.
Where it gets a little murky is, don't write songs for the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to write songs for every church.
Right.
We need to write songs for our church, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that means your church is the only church that will ever sing that song.
Right. Do you write songs from time to time that we don't sing at Crosspoint?
Oh, I mean, more
Right.
than, a lot more than we sing at Crosspoint, right? So I love that. I love the fact that there are more churches stepping out and writing songs for their body, because I do think there is power to putting to lyric and melody what God is doing in your house.
Yeah. So, like, emotionally, when you get ready to go into a write and you got people in the room, walk us through the difference between a song that you might be writing for someone else, but then how is it different when you're praying and thinking about a song that you want to write for Crosspoint? Let's talk about the heart behind that. What's the difference even in that writing session?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference. I mean, because, you know, if you go in and you know you're specifically writing for someone else, it's like, I'm not there physically with you all the time. So it's like, tell me, like, what is God? It's the coolest part, because it's testimony, right? So I'm getting to hear and be encouraged about, like, what God is doing in your church.
Learning.
And the cool thing is, you'll find that, like, wait a second, like, God's doing a lot of that in our church. You know, it's like, you start to see, like, okay, wait a second, the Holy Spirit is in all places, you know? But when it's specifically for our church, it's a little bit different, because some of the language that, you know, like our pastor uses, or that we use as, you know, creative team, or
Just church mantras. And
mantras, and even down to series. Like, we know, like, hey, we're going to go into this season. It's like, well, man, let's try to put a song to that message so that people can grab onto it.
Yeah.
It is a little bit of a different mindset.
So what was it about You Are, this song that was written for another church originally, that made you feel like this is a song that we also need to sing? What was the heart of the theme, even, that you're like, we should be singing this at Crosspoint?
I mean, the cool thing about that song in particular is it's a pretty universal theme. Even though, like, we wrote it specifically, the thing that I love the most about it for our church is, when it comes to culture, we're still we're teaching people what it looks like to worship. Right? Like, what's a posture of worship? And I love that this song says, I will lift my hands while I'm waiting, right? Because to me, that is a physical response to a spiritual, emotional thing that says, okay, Lord, I will lift my hands. I surrender. I trust you. You know, it's like, this is my response in worship. And to me, that's a song that, like, that's an idea that we need to practice, you know?
And why is that significant, though? Like, so you talk about lifting your hands. There might be people watching this, they're like, I've never lifted my hands in worship. What's the point? I don't get it. Why is that an important posture?
I think, for me, when it comes to worship, so, I mean, you and I, we've been in church world for a while.
Right.
And there are songs back in the day like Undignified. You
Yeah,
remember
yeah, oh,
Undignified?
yeah.
Matt Redman tune.
Absolutely.
And that to me is like where I go a lot of times when it comes to worship of like, literally, I will look like a fool for Jesus, right? And the good news is that he's not calling all of us to look like a fool, right? But sometimes it's the concept of, and we talked about this on another song when we were talking about Even More, is that there's always a next step, right? And so for some of us, it is showing up and opening our mouth to sing for the first time.
Right.
For others, it is saying, okay, Lord, I'm going to trust you and I'm just going to go for it and see what happens, right?
Yep.
And the thing is, it's not just about like, okay, I'm here, I've got my hands up, Lord, what am I supposed to feel?
Right.
But there is a physical response when we do step out for Jesus, whatever that looks like, that you are saying, Lord, this is for you, right? I surrender to you. I am open to you.
Yeah. And don't you think it can be a both and too, of like, there's times where I need to physically do, whether it's kneeling, singing, raising my hands, there's a bunch of different postures of worship so that my emotions and my spirit man will catch up.
Yeah.
And then there's times where there'll be a truth that is so like, it's almost like when someone's like, they score a touchdown and everyone in the crowd, their hands go up in response to something that's happened. And then I hear a truth or sing a truth that is so powerful to me that I can't help but physically respond to it. Don't you think it's a little bit of there's a both. There's a time to respond, but there's also a time to be proactive to say like, I don't feel this right now, but I'm going to let my spirit catch up with my body. Yeah.
100%. And that's the stepping out in faith.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the whole like, okay, I don't know really what this is, but it's like, okay, trust that the Lord's going to meet you in that. You know what I mean? Like there will be, it won't be void. Right?
Yeah. And especially in the tune, because we sing over and over in the song, you are good. You are good. Like there's just times where I have to remind myself of that way before I feel it.
Yeah.
Like there's just circumstances like it doesn't feel like you're good right now based on circumstance, but I'm reminding myself that regardless, you're good. Talk about that personally. When you lead this song, you're part of this song, what part of it stands out to you? Like what part do you cling to?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it is I love the thought of surrender and worship in the valley. Right? So what we're saying is we're not through it.
Right.
You're in the thick of it, really. I mean, this song is really based around being in the thick of it. You don't necessarily see the other side. But we always say that God is unchanging, right? God is steady. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if God says that, well, I'm gonna step into trust, right? Like it's almost like you're saying, all right, Lord, I'm going to take you at your word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to say, you are good, you are good, you are good. And just like you said, there is, when you step out in faith, whether you feel it, all those things, there is a spiritual response.
Yeah.
I think that's what our souls long for, is that intimacy. Is saying, I don't doubt you, Lord.
Right.
Like, even if everything around me looks crazy, I'm going to lift my hands because you are good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so to that point, why did you choose to record this song? Like, there's a lot of songs we do that we don't record, but what is your prayer for this song as we can engage this now, which thank you, by the way, for putting these things and recording these things so we can have them all the time, not just on Sundays. But what would your prayer be for a song like this as we engage it through the week?
Yeah. Well, the thing the thing that I love about like songs is the fact that it's not just one season and you move on. It's like good songs have a way of finding purpose in every season, right? And gosh, we're filming this right now in the middle of 2020, which is crazy, right? So to say, man, I will lift my hands while I'm waiting. It's like we are all in the middle. We are experiencing waiting like most of us haven't in a long time, right? So I love the fact that you can go back to a song and you could say, okay, you know what? I didn't exactly know how to express this, but that's it. Like I have something that I can sing, that I can say, that I can respond to.
Yeah. Last question for you. As you kind of look and dream in the future of our church, future Crosspoint, the next couple of years, Like, what is your dream for the culture of worship at our church? Like, where do you want to see us grow? Where do you want to see us get to? What do you want more of in our worship?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we're seeing it. You know, it is crazy to see God show even in our leaders, like seeing worship leaders who are stepping out in confidence that our time of worship isn't about us, right? Yes, we are going to get something out of it, but that's why even when we acknowledge the valley, we always want to shift our eyes because there's hope. That's what Jesus enters the picture, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if we can, as a whole church, collectively come in and say, man, I'm not just singing songs. Like I am literally interacting with the King of Kings, the lover of my soul, the forgiver of my, you know what I mean? It's like bringing reality to what it is that we're doing. And hopefully, these are great songs that people can sing with that sound good.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if it's not stirring something in you, then we're missing it. Right?
Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much. Not just for the songs that you're part of, but just thank you for, inviting us into this journey of the presence of God, whether we're new into it, we don't know what's going on when people are singing, or whether we've been worshiping for years. I love how you and the team just invite us into just being able to experience our Creator. So thank you for that, man. I really appreciate it.
You are good.